Well, this is it, and we finally made it. Number 24 out of 27. Shatabisha, the first nakshatra that's completely within Aquarius, the only nakshatra that's completely within Aquarius, the nakshatra that I've been looking forward to doing for this entire series, and now I get to do it. So, as much as I'd like to do the whole thing outside, the notes are inside, so I know it, but I don't know it that well. So, what do we know about this butcher? It's a butcher cast nakshatra, just like the previous one, just like Dhanishta. It's so that's all into sort of doing the dirty work, just getting things done, not really having much of a concern with any of that. So Aquarius, it's right in the middle of Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed sign, ruled by Saturn. It's, it's an air sign. Shatabhisha, though, on the other hand, is ruled by Rahu, the next in the repeating pattern of planets that rule the nakshatras. It's let's see, it's an ether sign. So, again, just like just another similarity with Dhanishta. Its symbol, and here's its symbol. Here's what Billy always loves to call it: bubble. Its symbol is an empty circle, or a bubble, or an egg. Something with infinite void, infinite void of creation. It pertains to the circle of life, pertains to the cycle of creation. So it's also very sheltered, protected inside its nice little egg. So what's Shatabhisha all about? What does all that mean? It's main ideas. It's a very, protective, sort of protective of itself, protective of others, protective of humanity. Not like protective like a mother, but just protective in general. So protecting kind of nakshatra. It's like shielding from harmful effects of external things. Hiding inside its eggs, hiding inside of its one egg that it lives in. So just kind of living under a rock kind of thing has the tendency to do that, but not completely like that. It's generally natives with planets in this nakshatra, especially the prominent of the planets, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, tend to have a tendency to want to conceal things, especially inner things, like their inner thoughts and feelings. They don't. They're not really willingly wanting to share things with the world. They're a little more willing to share, other people's confidential information, but as far as anything with them goes, it's very very concealing, very confidential. Not exactly lying. There are other signs that are more into lying about that sort of thing, but it will avoid divulging that information at all costs. It's can be obstructive. It could be, especially with certain aspects, certain other planets and signs mixed in with the Shatabhisha. It could be an indicator of child abuse, affliction as a child, or just something traumatic happening as a child. So something you might want to watch out for, or do a little bit more research on the exact aspects. And it has a lot to do with what house your Mars sign is in, and all that. So that's something that's worth researching. It's kind of into healing, a healing nakshatra, like in the sense that the doctor or a physician, sort of like logical healing as opposed to spiritual healing or anything like that. It's sort of prone to watery ailments. It's sort of the water of the Aquarius water bearer. even though it's an etheric sign. They're both very fluid substances. So it's Shatabisha has a lot to do with water, though, and oceans and rivers and like physical water on Earth. So, traits. What are some traits of people with this natives of this nakshatra? Generally, they are protective of things that they have control over. So they're not the type of people that worry about things that they have no control over, but they're protective of things but if they do, they'll want to try to maintain the status quo if they see the status quo is a good thing. They can be extremely secretive and mysterious. You might know one of them very well. You might even be dating one of them and not know very much about them. Maybe that's just because there isn't a lot to know. But, in any event, I don't think it would take quite a bit of prying to get them to divulge anything that, if there is anything there, not necessarily always the case. They generally are the type of people to care about higher knowledge. It's care about learning about things of the world, in the world. So it's but not really knowing things in a spiritual way. Like, one of the things they don't know is the meaning of life, the meaning of their lives in particular. So that's something that they have a little bit of trouble with. They have a tendency to not only hide their feelings, but hide their motives from people. So yeah, they do have desires sometimes, and they will work towards getting goals accomplished, but not really telling anybody else that they're working towards it. They'll even if it's something completely innocent and completely harmless as far as other people are concerned, they might it's something that they'll just still want to hide and keep to themselves, just so they don't have to explain their feelings or divulge any feeling related things. Okay, so they can also be a little curious, especially with hidden things. So it's, also more secrets there. Even though they really love gathering knowledge and will read a lot and will, let's say, maybe watch a lot of educational videos, maybe spend a lot of time in school, they don't really share their knowledge with other people. Like, even if they're forced to have a conversation, which they don't really cherish, not nearly as much as Dhanishta, they'll just want to talk about they'll want to talk about the other person, and if they have to talk about themselves, it'll want to be like, really simple things, even though there's a lot going on in their minds. It's not something that they're really comfortable talking about for whatever reason. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, even though I'm living that, but it's a thing. It's a real thing. So yeah, they're and then for that reason, they're good at deception and illusion. So even though they're not really deceptive people, like, overtly deceptive, because they live their lives sort of hiding their true feelings, or at least not sharing their true feelings, they usually develop this natural innate ability to hide things if they want to. So if there is a big secret or a big lie, they're good at lying, even if they don't do it particularly often. They can lie with a straight face. Just beware. Research what I'm saying, just in case. So anyway, they're really into, like, social media. That's more of a social outlet for them than face-to-face interaction, because you can hide behind social media. You don't have to reveal anything about yourself in social media, but you can still express yourself very selectively. And, also into electronics and technology. That goes with the social media, but it also goes with the knowledge, like scientific knowledge. So it's just, electronics seem to be a natural mate for these kinds of people, us kinds of people. They have a tendency to live a solitary life, like a reclusive life, an eccentric life. So, these are the hermits, but the people who go on to do great and weird things. I have no idea if Tesla had anything in this nakshatra, but I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised. So there's that. They're suspicious about everything. They're the type of people that question everything, question new knowledge. Whether they're reading it in a book, whether they're hearing about it in a conversation or from somebody else, if they hear something new, especially if it doesn't 100% jive with what they already know, they're not gonna they're not gonna pass it off and be stubborn about it like some signs. They're gonna give it a chance, an honest chance too, but they're gonna want to look into it and make sure that is this new information really real? I have to Google this before I'll accept it. I'm not just going to take your word for it, kind of thing. But yeah, so there's a lot of suspicion there because they conceal things, so other people could too. They understand that. Okay, they tend to they're lonely, with their solitary life, but it's more for the purpose of gaining wisdom. So they're very reflective people. Even though they're not the most spiritual, they are ones to reflect and contemplate on the world around them, and they can be on their inner desires. They're not the most philosophical sign either, but with enough reflection and depending on what other aspects they have and what other planets they have in their chart and where they are, they can be very philosophical people, and they can be very spiritual people. So it's depending on other aspects and other things. So it's and depending on what, and if they do have aspects favorable to philosophy or spirituality, then they can be very spiritual and philosophical because of their ability to reflect on things and to meditate in their own unconventional way. So yeah, they like to try to live life to obtain enlightenment, to figure out what's not working in the way I do things, anything, whether it's being in a relationship with another person, or a relationship with oneself, or doing tangible things like, say, you're a carpenter or something like that. It's just more about perfecting that and obtaining enlightenment. They're a little prone to self-pity. If they have to be in a bad situation, they'll kind of want people to feel sorry for them. They'll feel sorry for themselves and just want to go up to bed with a nice little cup of tea and cry their sorrows away, but not in a flamboyant get drunk, drink your sorrows away, more in a cry yourself to sleep kind of sorrows away. Not that I do that, but it's just something that Shatabhisha type people are prone to. So they can come off. So because they're so inward, they can come off to other people when they do interact with them as rather rough and cold. It just seems like they're so closed off, and so if somebody else also wants this. If somebody else is fishing for pity, they might not get it from the Shatibisha. They like to tackle the world, but in a calculative way. So, something that they'll gradually strategize and learn from past things that didn't work out as planned, and gradually try to gain enlightenment within the world, within the framework of society that way. So there's a tendency to, they can be a little absent-minded because they're alone with their thoughts so often. Even when they're with other people physically, they might be alone with their thoughts mentally. They might, come out of a meeting and be like, yeah, I have no idea what anybody was talking about, sort of thing. So it's, it could be seen as a very negative trait right there. So they, because of that, they have a tendency to behave in unusual ways. If they didn't know what went on in the meeting, so now they're going to respond to it in a way that makes no sense to anybody else who was actually present, kind of thing. And they tend to be, again, depending on other things in the chart, prone to addictions. Anyone that, has this inner sorrow or, deep sadness, you might get it. Can lead to addictions, can lead to emotional and psychological perversions and problems later on. Especially if it's the result of a rough childhood, child abuse, or anything like that. It could lead to the tendency to sort of carry that on later in life. So it's yeah, just something to watch out for. So that's the egg, that's bubble, that's Shatabhisha, the circle, the empty circle. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Just no, what have we got? Three more Nakshatras left in the series, and then be on to other things. So if you like this video, please like it, and if you like all these videos, please subscribe. And yeah, so we'll see you in Purva Bhadrapada. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.